Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Guildmaster Gaming. Today, I am talking with, I guess I didn't even check if you helped write this, but the director of the short film, Marie, Gehrig Campbell-Dempsey. So please welcome him. And Gehrig, tell us about yourself and your film.
Hey man, yeah, it's a sci-fi film. It's about a Amish man named Ezekiel who comes across a biomechanically augmented woman named Marie, and it was originally built as this sort of concept short that we want to build a feature film out of. But as we were writing it, we kind of hit the point of like, all right, if we just do this one kind of little small concept, it's not going to be able to stand on its own, and then it kind of feels like a waste of time and money because then what are we doing here? So it sort of expanded into a proper, nice, chunky 15-minute short film that hopefully, people feel has a good beginning, middle, and end, and enough to kind of keep you wondering, all right, well, what happens next? But yeah, sci-fi short film.
And tell me about Gehrig. Who are you?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Gehrig, named after the baseball player, not the disease, although that has become it's rarer and rarer that people know the baseball player. It's so ALS has become the go-to explanation. But yeah, so I my background is in a mixture of visual effects and doing immersive media production. So when I first dropped out of school, I started a virtual reality company with a few childhood buddies, and we did that for about 4 years. And then I kind of just hit the point where, one, I needed to make some money, and two, I wanted to move more into the narrative. So then I started freelancing in the world of virtual reality and immersive media. So I did some stuff for like Madison Square Garden's avatar scanning systems. This year I wrapped up a project where we went up to Toronto and did like a big activation for Samsung, doing all like the show controls and building like a kind of Harry Potter style interactive portrait that an actor could control and explain this whole kind of escape room to people. So I do kind of that kind of stuff. And then on the other side, a lot of editing and visual effects. And that was kind of my entryway into filmmaking. And now it's just pay the bills with visual effects and editing and, all the kind of computer geek stuff. And then the goal is long term writing, producing, and directing feature films and maybe television. I mean, it's all kind of coalescing into one industry anyway. So however
I
that
I
becomes.
think it's kind of fun how you say that. And I've mentioned this with other people and people that know me. It's kind of a joke for artistic types that you can say, "Hey, I know you really like doing this, but what do you do for your day job?"
Man, they are two separate things, unfortunately, still. But whatever, man. I'm lucky. I like what I do. Like it is, I genuinely enjoy. Like, I mean, look, sometimes like doing a green screen for a commercial is not the most fun thing to do in the world, but I've worked like in call centers. I've done like retail. I feel lucky that that's the way that if worst case scenario it doesn't work out, Plan B has been very good to me. So
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Marie, and that is, start out with. I can see where it's like I won't go into it. It looks like an origin story. It kind of presents itself that way, but where did the concept for this idea come from?
For sure. So all the credit for that actually goes to the co-writer, a woman named Kathleen Grotzinger, who I first met. There was this company that I was freelancing for a few years, and they actually became my only client for I think almost 3 years. And she worked at that company full time, and we just became friends, and we started writing projects together, and we actually ended up writing a Scooby-Doo project that got pitched to Warner Brothers and Berlanti, and unfortunately they passed because they had a project that was already in the same kind of vein. But we just yeah we really really enjoyed writing together. We really enjoyed working together, and I didn't have a strong like background in writing, so she has a like a BA and like went to a really good school for writing stuff. I don't remember the exact details, but so she'd been writing for years. She's written so many good things. And so we kind of just during COVID would share stuff that we were working on. And at one point, she had shared a 7-page short film that she just, if I remember the details correctly, she'd kind of written over the weekend. And it was just an Amish guy is driving across the countryside. It's sort of implied that this is some kind of apocalypse scenario. And he comes across a woman who's passed out in the middle of the road, and she's got this like weird, arm cannon thing. And the rest of it was pretty different, but those three things just like stuck in my head. Like I loved it. It was just 7 pages, and she'd written it just as this weekend I'm writing, okay, random sci-fi homage. All right, like what do we got? But it just, man, like years later, it's still stuck with me. That was in, I think, 2020 that I first read that draft. And then and one of the details of at the time it felt kind of random, but the woman in the script, which was her name was Marie, she was tall and had red hair. And I don't know, just thought that was like, oh, it's like a fun specific detail, and like it just, the way it was written, you could kind of clearly see these characters. So fast forward a few years, and I was kind of gearing up to like, all right, I had a couple good years. I want to try and like put some money into actually doing like a proper big short film, something that kind of can ideally accelerate my career, and not just blow a bunch of money. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. That's how it goes. But yeah, and so I was kind of I'd written a few different things, and I just wasn't feeling good about any of them, both from a budgetary and just like, how do I turn this into a feature kind of thing. And at one point, I thought back on that script, and for a long time, I'd thought about that script because I did an acting class to get better at directing at one point, and met someone who's now a very good friend, the lead in this film, Sydney Miles, who, when I first met her, it was like, oh, this is a tall redhead woman who is like, she is hands down the best actor, actress, whatever I've ever worked with. She is ridiculously talented. And so we became friends, and I would think about that script and like her every once in a while, but it wasn't my script. I didn't have anything like to necessarily do with it, whatever. But then when I was searching for ideas and projects, I kept thinking about that script. So I reached out to Katie and was like, hey, would you be down to maybe work together and kind of expand this little writing challenge that you'd done that I really just fell in love with, and turn it into something a little bigger? Um, and she was down. So we wrote that together. We kind of built a new story and a new draft and a new world, and then got into production and made it. And I'm sorry, I don't even remember what the initial question was at this point, but
It was the inspiration for the film, and that's what you've been telling us.
there it is. Yeah, it was Katie. It was all Katie. Give me
So,
zero credit.
so kind of continuing on with the film, we talked about, I like I mentioned, to me, it really does show up kind of like an origin story of who Marie is. So, and you mentioned already that it was kind of started out as a concept. So, is there any hope or plans of making it into a feature?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm not in any sort of I'm not under the impression that someone's just gonna walk up to me and be like, hey man, we really liked your short. Here's $20 million to make your first feature film. But yeah, I mean that would be the ideal situation. I think right now I'm focused on producing a film for my buddy who's also an extreme, he is the best director I know. We're currently kind of reworking a story that he's writing and then gonna direct. But I mean, look, if someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, I really want to help you make this feature," I wouldn't say no. But that's currently being written. There's an outline for it. We've got the larger idea all figured out, and it's just putting pen to paper. And actually, now that this short film, I'm pointing at my monitor over here, as it's literally exporting the version of the short that's going off to Film Quest. Now that that's all done, or at least 99.99% done, I can actually start sitting down and getting that writing done. So yeah, I mean, the goal is definitely to make it a feature at some point. I'm not in a rush because I think it's the kind of story that like it doesn't make sense even for necessarily a first time feature director. I wouldn't say no to it. I think with the team that I've got, we could turn into something really special. But I want to keep making other films in the meantime too, and getting better at my craft and figuring that all out. And yeah, so that's the goal. We've got it outlined. We've got it just ready to get written, and then we'll see what happens from there. Yeah.
So you mentioned, you did collaboration on the writing, and it sounds like you've, finding the right actress, and you kind of doing some things. And one thing I noticed at the end of your film, during the credits, there's some behind the scene clips. And it looks like you mentioned, a lot of these people on your crew and how you work with them. It looks like you guys are having a lot of fun while putting together this short. I take it that's the case, and you guys seem like you have a good chemistry working together. Is that the case?
We were all bitter enemies and rivals. That was all acting. None of that was real. That was the hardest part of production, to get that footage of people laughing. It took a lot of bribery. No, yeah, I'm so lucky, man. So I kind of fell in essentially with this whole like kind of graduating class of like the top people from USC from about 4 years ago. And I've just become friends with all these people, and like they've kind of just welcomed me into the crew. And now we've built this sort of tribe of collaborators and people that we like to work with. And it's been, yeah, I mean we have a lot of fun. And that's something that I remember watching I think it's maybe Cinema Sticks or one of these kind of film essayists on YouTube, and he did a whole essay about Edgar Wright and how he likes to run his film sets, and that he's very specific and particular, that he wants people to have fun. And I full-heartedly agree with that. Like I think making films is the best job in the world. Like I've said it before, like I work jobs that sucked, and like this is, if one day we can be getting paid for this and not paying out of our own bank accounts, like it's the best job in the world. And it doesn't mean it's easy, it's hard, but I think there's no reason to make it difficult. There's no reason to make it suck and be a bad environment. Like I don't think there's an excuse for it. So yeah, one, we have the best people to work with, people who love to have fun, who are very respectful, who just like genuinely have built loving friendships over the years. And then yeah, I think you make better art when you're having fun too. And that doesn't mean there's not hard days and hard moments, for sure. I mean, I could name quite a few. I literally was up till 6 a.m. today just trying to wrap up some of these shots, and that was, some of it was fun, some of it kind of was not fun. I'm really tired. I want to go to bed at some point, but like, you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, it's we have a lot of fun though, and that's something that and when I'm saying we, I kind of mean like myself and the producers and the people that I work with. Like, it's something we put a lot of work into. It's not just something that happens. Like, we really try to make sure people are having a good time, and that we like take care of the people. Because like selfishly, I think you get better performances from people. You get better work ethic. Uh, you get more emotional investment in the project. Sorry, I'm giving like the longest rambling answers here.
No, you're doing good. But
But
hey, we'll kind of move on a little bit here. So, you've got this good crew and everything, but you make mention that you just were putting on the final edits and watching the monitor as you're shipping it out. So I'm taking it that Film Quest is your premiere showing.
oh yeah, it certainly is.
Okay. So we know you're right at the start of your film festival run. Um, any other places that you know about yet that have contacted you back that people might be able to see your film that's after Film Quest?
Yeah, so we've submitted now to, I think, three or four other places. I'll have to double check the festival list. We work with this incredible festival director named Kimberly Browning. Um, I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't think we've gotten acceptances anywhere else yet, but we're going early for pretty much everywhere else that we have reached out to. So that I probably won't know. The next notification date's not for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, Film Quest was from the beginning though, like the number one. Like, if we don't get into this one, all right, well, we'll still send it to some other places. Like, this was and I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, it really was, like, not only from a just like quality of film festival kind of perspective. Like, it's the one that I feel like last year's attendance was like in terms of how it built my career, meeting people, all of that, like 10x the next, best film festival. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. We'll see, but we're definitely gonna be sending it around and seeing who bites.
Okay, so here's another kind of a twist on it. As a writer, I always look at these sort of things. You created a universe within this that's very unique. I won't give away any of the aspects to it, but I mean, it's clear it's an alien invasion, but the reason why I thought was an interesting way, and why an Amish person kind of rises up. Uh, Very nice touch. But and you're looking at a feature film, have you thought about expanding the universe into other characters or other events?
Oh yeah. Oh, we've got. I mean, this outline is too big. The outline is I mean, because that's the stuff, I don't know about you as a writer. That's the stuff I enjoy the most, is like building out the big picture stuff, and then like getting really in the weeds. The hard part is where you try to connect the two. Like, okay, I've got this specific character with all these like specific scenes and ideas, and here's like the macroeconomics of like the world or whatever. Now, how the hell do they interact? Yeah, no, there's at least like eight well-defined characters that I want to explore all these different kind of people and backgrounds. Like the aliens. I mean, I have a trilogy planned out in my head. You know, look, who knows? Maybe none of these will ever get made. Maybe one of them, maybe some of them, maybe all of them. Who knows? But like there is a very clear like A, B, and C for all this, and like the aliens and their motivations are very much fleshed out. Like what they are looking for, why they're on Earth. All this stuff there's answers for all of it. But so yeah, I mean, making it a low budget feature, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so we kind of got into the film there and some of that, but let's talk about Gehrig a little bit.
Sure.
Um, what was your inspiration to become a filmmaker?
So I grew up in Los Angeles, and my mom, she moved here from Texas. She kind of was like a part of like the '80s migration of like I want to be an actress. She came out here. She had at least some success with commercials and was in a couple movies. Nothing too big, but eventually she found a different path and decided she wanted to work on other stuff. But growing up, like a lot of people around me were filmmakers, and I went to school with some kids of like famous people and like all this kind of stuff. And so on some level, like the magic of like film in Hollywood almost seemed like there really wasn't like that same sort of like gravitas to it. Like because I grew up almost jaded is not quite the right word, but I can't think of a better one where like it just was like there. It just was sort of a thing. And so I think being like a dumb, annoying child who just wants to be like too cool for school, like that was kind of part of that world almost, like where I loved movies, but like my sister wanted to be an actress, like she wanted to work in movies and she does now. She works at an agency. She's moving into producing and like it just I don't know, there was some kind of hesitance on my end, but I always loved art. And I loved like music was what I did in high school, like that was my big focus. Moving out of that, I got really into computers and like programming, and moving out of that, it became like visual effects and all these kinds of things. And like when I look back, it's kind of funny because I think internally, like 5-year-old brain, which kind of is the one true source of information that you can trust, it knew what I wanted to do the whole time because I kept tangentially working on all these skills like sound design and music and editing and like all these different things that like when I was 25 years old, I sat down and I watched the TV show Arcane because it had been recommended to me. And I blew through all 9 episodes, I think in 1 or 2 days. And by the end of it, was just, bawling my eyes out. And as the credits rolled, I was like, oh, right. Okay. So like, this is what I want to do. It's this. And it's sort of like all clicked into place of like everything I've ever worked on was all coalescing into the skills that would make me at least a a filmmaker if I wanted to be, I guess. I don't know. So I still have a shit ton to learn. I think I came to it a lot later than most people. Um, but yeah, like in a weird roundabout way, like as soon as I sort of accepted that, like, no, this is what I want to do, is the thing that was most directly in front of me. There's never been like a moment of questioning. Um, so what brought me to it was really, I mean, it was Arcane. That TV show broke me down. It's the best thing ever created. If you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch it because it's perfection. And like, yeah, watching something like that and being so moved by something like that was what it forced my hand. It made all other doors close. Yeah. Sorry again, very roundabout
Oh
answer.
no, no,
I
no.
apologize. I'm so sleep deprived right now. I'm really trying to focus in.
You're
We're
doing great.
rolling hard.
Yeah. So, this movie is definitely set in a science fiction base. Is that where you see yourself is in science fiction?
I think in part, yeah. I think s- my style and like I always find it easiest to kind of talk about like other people's careers that I like or like I look at them like, oh, that would be like a good career. Like I feel like something between like James Cameron and Denis Villeneuve or Villeneuve. I never know how to say his name correctly. Dang French people losing all these letters and tough accent. But I feel like those two directors somewhere in there is kind of what I see. And like they both do a lot of science fiction, but they also both don't entirely do science fiction. Like there are still like my favorite Denis film is Polytechnic. I think it's an incredible film, and you know, about like a school shooting. And James Cameron, I mean Terminator 2, come on, Aliens, like best sci-fi movies probably ever made. But he also made other things like True Lies and well, I was about to say The Abyss, but that's entirely completely a sci-fi film as well. So maybe we're stuck in sci-fi land. I don't know. I really love horror too, though. So I think that's going to be part of next year is like trying to do a couple lower scale, lower budget shorts in other genres too to really solidify that answer for myself as well. But I think we'll probably end up pretty heavy in sci-fi, but not entirely. I would like to do other stuff too.
Well, you mentioned horror, and I will say this: I do know Alien and Aliens are both ranked as some of the top horror films ever made.
Hell
So,
yeah, as they should be, as they should be.
so yeah, you got that going for you there. So we got where you're. What kind of inspired you into getting into film and into what style you're doing? Um, if you're looking forward, besides working in this one, do we have any other projects that you have that you're kind of seeing might be more on the forefront before doing the feature?
Yeah, I've got I think two short films that I'd really like to do. I mean, there's three ideas, but I think I want to basically pick two and then make those happen. And again, like smaller scale, no visual effects shots, or at least minimal visual effects shots. And I'm not, you know, stuck in my bedroom till 4 in the morning every night for a year. But yeah, I've got a couple things, and they're both more. Um, I I wouldn't necessarily call them coming of age, but like I've become kind of fascinated with these ideas of like people who are not in their early 20s or early 30s going through coming of age sort of scenarios. Because I think as I've gotten older and a lot of my friends are a lot older too, like sort of facing down ideas on death and like existentialism, and I think just living in a very weirdly unconnected world, like those ideas are becoming more and more fascinating and interesting to me, especially as someone who grew up kind of with technology, but later in life where like I didn't have cassettes necessarily, but I know how they work and I know that they exist. And like I do remember using VHSs. You know, I didn't have a phone my entire life. I wasn't an iPad baby because there were no iPads, you know, when I was a kid, whatever. So I think I've seen that transition and seen how like people sort of like let's say like Gen X and older, like the way that they're able to connect is very different from when I look at like people who are Gen Z and younger, and especially Gen Alpha, where it's like, oh, this is something broke along the way here. And I think exploring those ideas with non-traditional protagonists in the sense that like usually coming of age stories are like characters between like, you know, 10 and 20. I feel like exploring it from the perspective of like people who are like 40 or 60 is a lot more interesting because I think we forget like life doesn't stop. Like you still evolve. Like there's still chapters beginning and ending until you fucking die, you know, like so I think those are the short films that I'll be exploring next. We'll see what happens there.
So let's kind of even take it one step further. If you had a dream project that you could do, work on, your own or someone else's, what would be Gehrig's dream project?
Ooh, ooh. You know, it's so funny. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I mean, okay, I'll give you a couple answers and I'll try to keep it brief.
Oh, you're
But
good.
um all right, well one of them there's a TV show that like when I'm 50 years old and have gravitas and power, you know, then I'll pitch it. But like there's this idea for a show that I think would be super fun. That like I mean, yeah, that's like a whole giant like you know, Game of Thrones level size kind of show, but that would be its own sort of apocalypse style TV show. Like that would be truly the dream. But I think in the meantime, like the stuff that I would be so amped up on is video game adaptations. Like I'm not really a gamer anymore, but video games still like even today, even though I don't play a lot of video games anymore, I think video games take much. There's a lot of gamers who are going to disagree with this, but they take a lot bigger risks than I think cinema's been taking, especially over the last 10 years. Especially like there's a few sort of auteur studios who have sort of the ability to get a big budget and take a big risk. Some of those being like Sucker Punch or Naughty Dog, Hideo Kojima's studio. Like, and I think there's so many cool things, especially like from a storytelling perspective and a music perspective and a sound design perspective that are happening in that world. And like just growing up, video games were I spend a lot more time with video games than I did with films. So there's sort of this narrative love for all that stuff. And I think The Last of Us proved you can make a really good video game adaptation. Fallout did as well. The Halo TV show was hot garbage. And like, I think when you juxtapose those two things, you can finally like show an executive or show a decision maker, hey, if you respect the source material, there's a way to do this correctly and make a lot of money and make a good show and all that good stuff. So like BioShock, oh my God, I would murder to make an adaptation of that. And any of the three games, I think that whole universe is incredible. Death Stranding, I mean, Hideo Kojima's been talking about making a film studio for like 5 years, and I literally every year I reach out to the LinkedIn of the guy who's labeled as like the head of the company for Hideo Kojima's film and television production studio. But again, like there's been no news on it in years, but I always ping him every year. Never gotten a reply, but that's okay. Yeah, I think successfully pulling a video game adaptation would be so much fun because you have so much cool source material to work with, but you still get to build on that and you still get to translate it from one medium to another. So I don't know. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be
Okay.
super cool.
All right. So it sounds like you've been, like you said, you were up until early this morning or late this morning getting things done. And you've been doing a lot of pressure work lately with all this. So when it's time to unwind, what do you like to do to just kind of relax and recharge?
Oh man, I'm pretty bad at that. I I've had yeah, like I don't like vacations. Like like I've gone on like one like proper vacation. It was this woman that I was dating for a few years. She and I went to Greece at one point, and like within 3 days, I was like, I gotta get some work done. Like like I genuinely like work is how I avoid feelings and feel better. You know what I mean? Like it's the best. I think when I'm really like okay, I'm at wits end, I'm so tired, like I need to like stop. Napping is huge. Napping is great. Big fan. But really, I mean, throwing on a movie, man, because I think when I realized that watching movies is actually very productive because you're building your creative pool to like steal from, and like narratively build your own blocks from. Like it became even so much more relaxing than normal, where it's just like I can sit back and watch a movie and feel productive. So like genuinely, I love just like sitting back and watching movies. If I'm like, I got nothing else. I did what I could today. I'm all wrapped up. Movies are it, which is so obvious and dumb and boring. I'm trying to think of something better for you. I
Oh,
also work.
no, no. I mean, every person's different. I mean, I'm one of those people, like I told you before we got on the air. My mainstay I started in is I was reviewing tabletop games. So every couple of weeks I have a group, we get together, and that's what I do to relax is we get together and play games. So, it's I can understand watching movies. But so I'm going to ask kind of along those lines, is it watching new movies? Or do you have some that are like certain go-tos you like to pop in and go, this is my, my hidden secret favorite.
No, no, there's no secret favorites. I'm anti the idea of guilty pleasure, dude. My favorite film is the remake of Footloose, and I do love that movie. I don't like rewatching movies all that much. I will every once in a while, but like even my favorite movies, I've probably watched maximum like 3 or 4 times. Um,
Okay.
so generally, I try to watch more new stuff. I mean, part of it too is just because I entered into the game kind of later than most people. Like mid-20s is not where most filmmakers get started as a filmmaker. Like I do really like put an enormous effort into building my education up. So like I mean, the obvious list is like AFI Top 100. Slowly working through like parts of that, or like if I recently watched Marion Cotillard in La Vie en Rose and like was blown away. I mean, the movie's a bit messy at times, but like her performance in that was insane. So like went down a whole rabbit hole of like watching her films, and like a bunch of weird French films that are excellent. A Zemeckis film was in there, and so then I was like, all right, well, I don't know much Zemeckis. I should probably explore a bit of that. So I threw down all three Back to the Futures. Great films. Second one's a bit of a mess, but third one, hell yeah. Western, come on, perfect. It made me make want to make a Western. Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a calculation of like I do want to have a good like if Quentin Tarantino ever hired me for something, I'd want to be able to have a like genuine conversation with him about film, if that makes sense. And I'll never be to the level of fluency like someone like that, but I want to be able to have that conversation, you know?
Well, I know they're floating the idea. I've heard about it. He's supposed to be up for the directing the next Star Trek film. So
Whoa. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
be able to use some of your visual effects there, maybe. Uh, so, you got this going on for yourself, and like you said, you feel like you've started late. I don't know about that because I've known people to start much later than you that are doing well. Uh, so we'll give you that benefit there. So I'm going to then ask you to kind of go on flipping it a little bit. If someone came to you and said, "Hey, I want to be a filmmaker," what advice would you give them?
Ooh, I'd want to know more context for them, but in sort of like a generic sense, I think I'd probably give you a different answer depending on the day and hour that you ask me, but in this moment, I would say like I think most people struggle with either being too delusional or not delusional enough. And like I genuinely think that like a lot of life's mysteries are answered by having a healthy amount of cognitive dissonance. And my buddy Zach makes fun of me because I use the word cognitive dissonance or the term cognitive dissonance all the time. But like I genuinely think that you have to be kind of a psychopath dingus to pursue this because it's like a 1 in a million chance you get to go anywhere with it. But so you need a healthy amount of delusion that you think you can do it. But I also think that I've met people where I'm like, oh no, you truly are like incapable of self-reflection. And that's like in a more serious sense problematic. So I think you have to have a weird balance of being like so egotistical and narcissistic to think that you could possibly rise above, the insanely saturated, market, however you want to kind of view it. But you also do have to balance that with being like, okay, I have a script. I think it's good. I want to hand it to someone and see what they think, and them say, I don't understand what's happening here. I'm confused. Like, what does this character even want here? Like what? And looking at that and going, oh, okay, so like this isn't good yet, or this does need work, or or this person their opinion sucks. Sometimes maybe that's the case. I don't know, but like I think there's a level of like self reflection that you need, and I've encountered it over and over where people either don't have enough confidence or way too much. And I think this kind of goes for almost any industry, but like the people I've met who are very successful in for sake of argument of this conversation in film, but again, it extends kind of elsewhere as well. They tend to have both of those things in equal measure of like being ridiculously overconfident to a point that it's almost like annoying, while also being the first to say, "Hey, what do you think about this? Like, how could this be better?" And being extremely critical, and open to feedback and criticism. Like when someone says something like, "Oh my God, like my script is so fucking good," I can guarantee it's probably not. Like that level of like confidence without any sort of reservation is almost never a good sign. I don't know, or maybe I'm just not confident enough. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that. I've talked with people in other artistic endeavors of, be it art, film, writing, developing other things. And I think you've got a very good point there that, that's what they kind of say is you got to believe you can do it, but at the same time, there is so much of this lack of confidence going, oh crap, what am I doing? Imposter syndrome sets in and you start going, oh, and I think it's a
Totally.
good, healthy balance. I think you nailed a good one there to
Thank
get people to think about. So as we're wrapping up, I'm going to ask you one final thing, just really kind of open it up to you, not really a question is there anybody you'd like to give a particular call out or, any particular thing you'd like to say to the people out there?
Oh, sure. Um, yeah, I mean, just my team, man. It's like it's not my team, it's our team. So the producers on this film are incredible individuals. We've got Zach Cassini, Morgan Rudder, Danny DiTerice, Race Lopez, and Aiden Kalisher, all very good friends, incredibly talented producers, talented in their own ways as well. Outside of that, like some are actors, some are directors, some are writers. Well, pretty much everyone's a writer. Um, the cast. I mean, so Race Lopez, who was one of the producers, he also starred as Ezekiel, and like the amount of time that we spent together figuring out how we wanted that character to look and sound and walk, and I mean, like just the amount of effort that that man puts into his craft is insane. And Sydney Miles, again, I mean, I said it earlier on this, in this chat, but like she is the best actor or actress I've ever worked with. Everyone should hire her. I'm trying to ride her coattails. Like it's ridiculous how talented this woman is, and just like I mean, dude, the DP, Luke Sargent, absolute fantastic. I mean, powerhouse. The fact that that guy is working with someone like me is just like a blessing. Like he's become a very good friend, insanely talented individual. Like everybody should just follow all these people because I feel like even if I don't make it, everyone around me is. Adina Heiser, who is our production designer, she also did the prosthetic arm. She also built the cryo chamber. She also did all the costume design. Like literally the most talented person I've ever met in my entire life. Like it's like these are people who I think are going to be getting an Academy Award one day. So again, I don't know if I'll ever be there, but these people will. So should follow all of them because their careers are going to be really fun to watch. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think, dude, just be nice to each other, y'all. Life is hard. Life is very hard, but it can be kind of wonderful. So just smile and high five each other. It's a lot more fun that way. I don't know.
So if people want to follow or kind of get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Definitely. I think Instagram is probably the easiest these days. So my Instagram is at just my name, Gehrig Campbell-Dempsey, no spaces. Gehrig CampbellDempsey. Yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's on the
Um,
screen.
Excellent. Whoops. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I can tell you're really tired, so I was kind of wrapping things.
No, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
apologize.
No, it's fine. I can see you're fading, and I know you had a lot of work getting going, but I'm
I'm
glad
having a
you're
blast for
tired.
whatever that's worth.
This has
I
been
you're
fun.
very fun to chat with.
I can tell you have a lot of energy and a lot of excitement about what you're doing, and that's great to see. It's a joy that you can tell that you're having fun with what you're doing, and it's not a job.
Oh, well, trying because it's hard. It's really hard. Oh, you're wearing a Film Quest shirt. That thing's awesome.
Oh
Hell yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's I happened to grab that this morning because I was going out and meeting some people that are horror writers. So I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
oh, I got to get into this season.
Oh man, I'm getting more merch this year for sure. That you know what? I'll shout that out too. The merch for Film Quest. I have the socks and I wear them, so they're like my lucky socks now.
I
Dude, you
will
gotta.
admit, I did get the coat a couple years ago,
Yeah,
the silk jacket with the big patch on it. So it's like, yeah. So
I'm
I
jealous.
understand some good stuff there. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. And thank everybody for joining us with this conversation with Gehrig about his film Marie. It's going to be premiering at Film Quest next week, is when it starts up. Hopefully, I'll get this out before then. I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of packed.
No worries. I ain't
So
stressed.
we'll get it out there. And when I do, I'll be writing up a review of the film, and I'll be linking these back and forth, and I'll share out the links on all that for you too. So yeah, if you like what we're doing here, please like and share it. And like I say, please support the independent filmmakers, the independent artists all the way around that because that's where it's some amazing stuff is coming out in all the different artistic fields. So please go out there and do that. And if you like this, subscribe, and we'll be able to do some more of this. It helps us out. And thank you, Gehrig, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Okay,
appreciate it.
we'll talk to you all later.
Sounds good.